couple of things that we've already talked about. One, there will be no class next Sunday. So next Sunday, we'd love to. I'm going to be watching. No, I don't know if I'm going to be watching online or not, but we're going to be out of town visiting with family up in the Dallas area. So we'll be gone for this coming weekend. So look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday anyway. So, okay, that's the only announcement. All right, today we're going to be talking about the promise part 2, as I'm going to call it. And so, again, here's our quiz bowl. Which of the following is not in the right order? Adam, Eve, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Remember which is the one not in the right order. Jacob, Esau, Moses, David, Jesus. Which one's not in the right order? They're pretty close.
What's the B?
Okay, B. All right. Technically, no. C, maybe. Any other wild stabs at it? Well, the correct answer is Jacob, Esau, and Moses. Think about it this way. Esau physically was born first because Jacob and Esau are twins. Esau was born first. However, as we will continue as we tell the story, Esau will have sold his birthright as the oldest. So basically they just flipped orders. And then Jacob stole Esau's blessing. But that's another story. Abraham and Sarah named their son Isaac. Laughter because, we talked about this last week, he was pretty funny. He was pretty funny looking. I don't know. He was pretty. Or he was an unexpected joy because they were way too old to have children. I think that one is D. He was an unexpected joy. You guys remember this part of the story. God is visiting with Abraham and Sarah, and God said, by this time next year, you guys will have a son. And Sarah is in the tent making lunch, and she laughs. God said, oh, I heard you laugh. No, I didn't. So that's why Isaac is named as he is. Isaac had twin sons and named them Jacob and Israel, Jacob and Esau, Rachel and Leah. Okay, there's a new one. Canaan, unable to come to the phone right now. Please leave your name and number, and I'll get right back to you, please. Okay, which one?
B.
B. Jacob and Israel are the same person. We're going to get to that part of the story this morning, but Jacob and Israel are the same person because God renamed Jacob. He renamed him Israel. So, okay, next one. Which one of the following is true about Jacob and Esau? They were fraternal twins. They were identical twins. Esau was born holding on to Jacob's ankle, trying to pull him down. Or D, they shared a common love of French cuisine. Oh my goodness gracious, they're getting bad with these puns. Which one is true? A. If they're not identical, they are fraternal. There's the line where it said Esau's clutching at Jacob's ankle. We're going to get into that part of the story. Actually, it's the reverse. Jacob is grabbing Esau's ankle. Esau wanted to kill his brother because Jacob robbed him of his girlfriend. Jacob robbed him of his birthright and blessing. Father Isaac always liked Jacob best. Actually, that's no. Jacob continually wore Esau's best goatskin wrestling outfit without asking permission.
B.
I think that one's going to be B. Yep, Jacob robbed him of his birthright and blessing. It's interesting. Both stealing the birthright, meaning I am firstborn, not you, and stealing of the blessing, meaning God, Dad's blessing to the oldest, all revolved around food. When Jacob stole Esau's birthright, Esau was so hungry, he said, just give me some food. Well, give me your birthright, and I'll give you the food. I don't care, I'm hungry, give me some food. That was it. That's how it happened. And then the second one was Jacob let's take that back. Rebecca, Jacob's mom, heard Isaac tell Esau, there's too many names, heard Isaac tell Esau, go kill and make me kill an animal and make me that favorite stew you like, and I'll give you my blessing. Mom hears that. Mom then tells Jacob, okay, you go get a couple of lambs, I'll make the dinner while Esau is out hunting, and you get the blessing that Dad was supposed to give to your brother. Jacob goes, how am I going to do that? He and I are completely different people. Well, don't worry about that. I'll take care of that part. So yeah, Jacob robbed him of both his birthright and his blessing. In ancient times, the birthright was understood as the opposite of the birth left. Oh, good nightmares. The right of the firstborn son to inherit most of his father's stuff and become the leader of the clan. The right to choose one's own wife and profession. Or D, the right of the lastborn son to sue the firstborn for mental anguish.
B.
I think that one is B. That's right. It's the right for the inheritance. In other words, let's say Tyler, you and Tripp and your mom and dad were living at the time of Jacob and Esau.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's right? Guess who would have the birthright? Mm-hmm. Correct. So, in ancient times, the father's final blessing was seen as a ceremonial passing of the inheritance from the father to the firstborn son, a ceremonial passing on of God's favor from the father to the firstborn son, a ceremonial passing of the family secrets from father to son, or none of the above. Any other guesses? Any other thoughts? The answer is C, actually. Ceremonially passing on of God's favor. Think about it this way. God has blessed mom and dad. Dad passes that God's blessing on to the oldest son. So that's how that kind of works. On the day his brother came to kill him, Jacob wrestled with his conscience, sort of, an angel of the Lord, an alligator. Well, he should have gone down to Huntsville State Park.
Yeah.
Sorry, bad joke. He's a gym teacher. No, they didn't. That's why that's kind of a bad joke. Any thoughts?
A.
How about B? Yep, Jackson had it. An angel of the Lord, also known as, what is okay, Bible quiz for you. The phrase, an angel of the Lord, refers to who? Any thoughts, any ideas? Refers to who? Or to who? To whom? Jesus. Well, actually, the Son of God before he became Jesus. So whenever you're seeing it, see the phrase, an angel of the Lord, as you're reading the Bible, think about it this, he's wrestling with God. Okay? So that's what he was. And probably because he was wrestling with God, he was also wrestling with his conscience. Jacob's name was changed to Israel, which means cheating ankle grabber. I thought that was Jacob. Laughter? No, wait a minute, that's Isaac. Father of nations? Wait a minute, that's his grandfather. That's Abraham. So it's got to be D. He wrestles with God. So, yeah, he wrestles with God. I mean, it's interesting how names mean something back in the day. Like, for example, the name Jacob means the one who deceives, the one who tricks. He's a trickster. Israel literally means he does wrestle with God. And another biblical note about Bible names, Bible time names, if you ever see a name with the letters EL on the end, what that means is the first half of the word is something to do with God, and then the last two letters, EL, is the short form for the name Elohim, which is God in Hebrew. So something of God. something going on with God. So just a little bit of Bible trivia for y'all. And, okay, so in Genesis 32:26, the second half, Jacob told the angel, I will not let you go unless you let me go first, change my name to Israel, teach me to fly, okay, bless me. I think it's D, because it is. Actually, it's interesting. Part of the wrestling that they had, how long did they wrestle? Did they wrestle 3 hours? Okay. Does anybody say 4? 5? How about all night long? Jacob laid his head down to go to sleep, and all of a sudden somebody comes up and starts wrestling with him, and they're wrestling all night long until daybreak. Finally, God decides to put his hand right here into Jacob's hip and pops it. So basically, he dislocated Jacob's hip, and that was the end of the wrestling match. Now, could God have won in about 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Absolutely, he could have. But he chose to wrestle with Jacob all night. I'm not going to guess as to why he chose to do it that way, but he did. And I won't let you quit until you bless me. We won't quit until you give me your blessing. So let's take a look at our Old Testament. Notice the artwork again, because artwork is relatively large in this lesson plan that we're using. So we've got an angel, a picture of an angel about to wrestle with Jacob, who is sound asleep, laying on the ground. So our theme verse for this morning, Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he did not prevail, he said, let me go, for the day is breaking. Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Then the man said, you shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and have prevailed. Oh, wow. You know what that prevailed means? Any thoughts? And you have won. You have won the day. You've endured the contest. So that was pretty cool. So, theme tune, let me get this straight. Jacob was a cheat and God blessed him, right? Yep. And Joseph was faithful to God and he got thrown into a hole and then prison. Yep. So why shouldn't I be a cheat? Good question. I must have missed that day at seminary. Of course, we shouldn't be a cheat. I was wondering if that joke remembers. Okay, if there's anything that we remember out of this lesson, in spite of our sin, God, the God of the covenant, is faithful and will never abandon us. He will never leave us alone. Count on this. Okay, so let's pray. Dear God, thank you for this morning and the opportunity to learn and grow again, continuing your promise and learning about your promise through the people you have given it. We ask you just to continue to open our minds to your leading. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so skip through all of this long part here, moving forward. Okay, so moving into the lesson. So we started the promise. My speaker isn't working. That's okay. We started out the promise with Abraham and Isaac. Good morning, Miss Kayla. We started the promise with Abraham and Isaac. Now we're continuing that promise with Isaac's son Jacob and his family. So, another little pop quiz for you. How many sons did Jacob have?
4.
More.
8.
More.
13.
More.
56.
Less. Less than
13.
15. Less than 13. 12. Ever wonder why Jesus chose 12 disciples? it links it back to the 12 descendants of the nation of Israel. So there are 12 sons that Jacob had. Now, it could be connected. I've never heard of it connected to that, Jackson. So your guess is as good as mine. I am not sure. So now what do we want to be able to do is talk about Jacob and his life. Jacob, as we all know, stole the birthright and stole the blessing from his brother Esau. Well, that made Esau so furious that he was threatening to kill him. But he didn't want to do it while Dad was still alive. Now, their father, Isaac. Father Isaac was old and he was going blind. So he couldn't see. But he still had his other senses. So he says to Esau, oh, by the way, before I go any further with that, did Isaac have a favorite of the two sons? He did. Which one? Which one of the two sons was favored by Isaac? Any ideas? Any thoughts? Esau. Esau was favored by Dad. Mom, Rebecca, also had a favorite son. Guess who? Jacob. So that all plays into this whole deception and trickery that Jacob is about to pull off on his father. Dad's going blind. Dad's going blind. He asks his son Esau to come in. Now, there's another distinction, too. I keep forgetting to add these important details. Esau, when he was born, was fairly hairy. He was also red-haired. When they were born, as Esau was coming out, Jacob was grabbing onto Esau's heel. So that's kind of a beginning foreshadowing of what the relationship was going to be. Jacob always wanting what Esau had. So, Esau was a hairy man. Jacob was a fair-skinned man. Esau lived outside. He spent most of the time with the flocks and with the herds and hunting and fishing and all that other stuff. Jacob was more of the inside man. He spent more time with Mom than he did with Dad. So his dad is now, can't see anymore. He calls Esau into the tent and he says, Esau, I need you to go kill me some deer or whatever it was, and then make my favorite stew. You know that favorite stew. And then when you do that and you bring the stew to me, then I will give you my blessing. Esau is all excited. He's going to get the blessing from Dad, everything else like that. Esau leaves. Mom hears all of this outside the tent. She calls Jacob to her. She says, Jacob, go find a goat. Let's kill it. And I'll make your father's favorite dinner from the goat. And then you will receive your father's blessing. You go in there and you beat your brother to the blessing. Now, the blessing is extremely important. The fact of the matter is, the blessing of the oldest one dictates and determines all what's going to happen with the rest of the family. So back in the day, the blessing to the oldest firstborn son was extremely important. So, Esau's out hunting. Jacob gets to go, kills it, and starts cooking it, and everything's fine. And Jacob finds out or figures out there is something very important here. I'm not Esau. Esau and I are nowhere alike physically. And this is where Mom kind of changes the playing field. She says, okay, let's take that skin and let's cover your arms with it and everything else like that. So you have not only the hairiness of your brother, but you also have the aroma of what your brother is like. So you don't look like, you don't feel like you don't smell like you. The only thing they couldn't cover up was the voice. They didn't sound alike. So Mom's making the stew. Jacob's waiting for it. He's getting all dressed up in the animal skins. Mom makes the dinner first before Esau gets back. Jacob takes it in. Here, Father, here is your stew. And Isaac goes, how'd you get back here so fast? Isaac had an idea how long it was going to take Esau to go shoot, kill, dress, all the things necessary, and cook the meal. Oh, God provided for me, Jacob said. Okay, now if you were Isaac, would you start to sound something's fishy? Something's not right in all this? Well, it wasn't. So, Jacob, okay, this is odd, Isaac is thinking, because sounds like my son Jacob, doesn't sound like my son Esau. But he goes along with it. So Jacob brings up Dad's lunch. Dad starts eating it. Yup, this is exactly what I like. And Dad is trying to figure everything out. He says, come here. Uh-oh, Jacob's going to get caught because Dad is going to put his hands on his arms and try and feel to see if, okay, you feel. And then the kicker was, even though Isaac knew the voice wasn't correct, but the kicker for Isaac was, you smell like my son Esau. Okay, this is great. He eats. Jacob gets the blessing that was intended for his older brother. Jacob no sooner leaves the tent with the bowl than here comes Esau with his bowl. Here it is, Father, I made you your lunch so I can have my blessing. Who are you? Now Isaac is massively confused. It's your son Esau. Here, give me your blessing. And then it dawned on him. He went, oh, Krakatoa. I gave my blessing to your brother. You did what? Yeah, he came in and he stole it. Now Esau's gears are turning. He's going, now he stole my blessing. He stole my birthright as the oldest because I didn't care at the time. Now he's stealing my blessing. I'm really getting mad at this guy. Now you got to understand, these guys are in their 20s or maybe even if they're in their 30s by now. I am really, 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 really mad. Father, do you have any kind of a blessing for me? Well, Isaac gave Jacob everything. All the animals, everything that they owned, that now Esau is supposed to be subservient, a servant to his brother. Oh, this is all a mess. Esau's going, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill this fool. Mom hears that. Esau storms off. Mom hears the threat. So Mom orchestrates another whole thing for Jacob. He says, okay, I'm really upset here, Isaac. She says to Isaac, and Isaac, what are you upset about? Well, I'm upset that Esau, by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to add this one interesting detail. Esau was already married, but married to somebody who was not of the family, so to speak. I'm so upset that all these women, there's none of these women that are here are good enough for my son Jacob. So Isaac says, what do you want me to do about it? He says, go send Jacob back up to my family. And then maybe he'll find a woman who will be able to marry him who's part of my family. Jacob ended up marrying Rachel, wanting to marry Rachel. Here's another whole wacko story. Rachel was Jacob's mother's niece. She was the daughter of Rebekah's brother. Anyway, so Jacob heads up. Well, after the first night, he's laying his head on the ground, and God does something to Jacob that's very impressive. Jacob is laying on the ground, and also Jacob has this vision, this dream as he's sleeping of a staircase going straight up to heaven. God standing at the top of the staircase, and angels coming up and down the staircase. Jacob wakes up, says, man, this must be the house of God. This must be a great place. So he makes a small altar, like a little pillar, to honor God, to offer sacrifices to God. He renames the town Bethel. You remember I said any word in Hebrew that ends with the letters El means God? Well, Bethel means house of God. So that's why we call, like, the sanctuary God's house. So it's the house of God. So Jacob, he heads up, he finds a young lady, her name is Rachel. He falls in love with Rachel. Everything's going great, wonderful. Well, he says to her father, he says, I'd like to marry your daughter, Rachel. Great. Why don't you work for me for 7 years, and then you can marry my daughter, Rachel. Okay? So, he works for his father-in-law, the days go by really, really fast. Wedding night comes, the bride is veiled, he can't see the bride's face. Goes into the bridal chamber, wakes up the next morning, and it's not Rachel. It's Rachel's older sister, Leah. He goes to his father-in-law, and he says, what? I worked for you for Rachel. Oh, our tradition says the younger daughter doesn't marry first. The older daughter always marries first. So that's why Dad sent Leah in with Jacob. So now Jacob's has a woman as his wife he really doesn't care for that much. But he wants to be married to Rachel. So his father-in-law goes, well, if you work for me for another 7 years, then you can have Rachel also as your wife. So now he's going to have 2 wives, both sisters. Well, Leah has Jacob's firstborn. His name is Reuben. And the secondborn, Simeon. Thirdborn, Levi. Fourthborn, Simeon. No, Judah. Fourthborn is Judah. And now Rachel says, well, she's not being able to have any children. So Rachel gets this great idea. Well, here's my handmaiden. Here's my maid. Now she can be, to Jacob, wife number 3. She has 3 more. Well, Leah can't have any children anymore. Now she's really upset. So she says, well, here's my handmaiden. So now Jacob has 4 wives. And between him and 4 wives, they have 12 boys and 1 girl. But before they get to the last two being Joseph and Benjamin, because Rachel so far has not been able to have any children. So Rachel finally is able to have children. She names him Joseph. Joseph's name means he will add. He will add something. He will contribute to something. So Joseph, and then a few years later, Rachel has a second child.
I found this on the web.
I really don't care. Rachel has a second son, Benjamin, but Rachel dies in childbirth. Well, now Jacob, the love of his life, he didn't really love any of the other wives as much as he loved Rachel. Now he's in mourning. So all the sons, they're growing up together. Now Jacob, also, he's not named Israel yet. Jacob says, all right, it's time for me to leave. I've been working for my father now for 21 years. It's time for us to leave. So he makes an arrangement with his father-in-law. If any speckled, striped, or non-white colored sheep are born, they belong to me. Jacob rigged it. I don't know how he did it. The Bible says he stripped the bark off of a tree branch, put it into the water. The sheep drank out of that, and the sheep that were born after that were all the spotted, striped, non-white sheep, which are not the ones that they really want. So all of a sudden now Jacob is stealing everything from his father-in-law. Now he's got to go. He's got to leave because his father-in-law is getting a little miffed at him, so he leaves. So as he's leaving, taking his family and everything with him, now he's got a real problem. He's going home, but what's the problem he's coming back to? He's got a problem coming back to that's been nagging at him probably for the last 20 years.
Oh, his brother wants to kill him.
His brother still wants to kill him, or so he thinks. So it's been reported, oh, Esau is bringing men, and they're on horses, and they're going to come, and they're going to greet you. And Jacob goes into a little bit of a panic. He takes his family and all of his flocks, and he sends them to Esau group by group by group. And he stays behind. He sends everybody ahead, he stays behind. And now he's laying down in one evening, and here's where God wrestles with him. God wrestles with him, and they're wrestling all night long. He says, I'll let you go. Just give me a blessing. Pop. There goes the hip. Okay, here's the blessing. That your sons are going to, fundamentally, it's a similar blessing that he gave to his grandfather Abraham. Your sons will become a great nation. So, they all move back. Esau has forgotten about killing Jacob. Now he wants them to come together. But Jacob, he's kind of, how shall we say it? He's not really thrilled with being with Esau. Esau, you go back to your home, we'll go back this way. And that's how they parted. They weren't angry at each other, but they really didn't like each other that much. So now, Joseph is older, and who is Jacob's favorite son? Who was Jacob's, Jacob was the favorite son of Rebekah, so who is Joseph's favorite son now? Any ideas? Name begins with a J. Joseph. Joseph is the favorite son. And Jacob gives Joseph this fancy coat with all these different colors in it. Kind of, Kayla, like your dress. All these different colors. It's really fancy. And everybody else is looking at it going, why is Dad giving Joseph all of this? Well, two things started to happen. One, Joseph started having dreams. One of the first significant dreams that Joseph had was his brothers had all put up wheat stalks. This back in the day, you'd cut it, and before taking the tops off, you'd cut it with your hands, and then you'd tie the bundles together, and so you'd have these bundles. So each one of Joseph's brothers had a bundle, and then Joseph's bundle, and then in the dream, all of Joseph's brothers bend over to bow before Joseph. Joseph told the story, and the brothers just automatically are getting really, really angry at him because how dare you think that we're going to bow to you? And then he had a second dream. The second dream was not only did his brothers' sheaves of grain bow to Joseph, but also their father did. Oh, you're saying Dad's going to bow to you? Are you absolutely nuts? So they're really upset at him. But Jacob, you see, all the brothers were in charge of the flock. They had a lot of sheep. They had a lot of cattle. They had a lot of animals that they had to take care of. And they had to move from field to field to field in order to feed them. So the brothers were tending the flocks, and Dad would send Joseph and say, Joseph, go check on your brothers. Well, there was a couple of times that Joseph came back to Dad and said something, no, they didn't do it right. They didn't do it right. So now they're even more mad at him because now he's tattletaling. So one day, Jacob sends Joseph out to find where the brothers are, find out what's going on, and he eventually finds them. But before he does, they see him. He's wearing this fancy coat. He's walking up like this, I'm wearing my fancy coat, and they can see him from a distance. And they're all angry at him. Oh, wow, let's kill him. This brother's liking to kill brothers. This is crazy. Let's kill him. Let's get this dreamer out of our way. So they go, and Reuben, who is the oldest of all the brothers, he says, no, we can't do that. We can't kill our brother. And they decide, yeah, you're right, we can't do that. So they throw him in a dry well. They put him in a dry well. And later, Reuben was going to go by later that evening and pull Joseph out and get him and send him back to Dad. But before he could do that, the other brothers had decided, here comes a caravan of people. They're called slave traders. So they sold Joseph into slavery, took his coat, sold him off, and away goes Joseph, and they never see him again. And Reuben goes back and says, where's the kid? Oh, we sold him to the slavers. You did what? Now what are we going to do? Now we're going to tell Dad. Oh, let's do this. So they took probably knives, and ripped up the coat, poured some blood on it from an animal, and they were going to tell Dad, look what happened. He got attacked by a wild animal and he died. So now Dad is not only still upset that his love of his wife, Rachel, who is dead, now his favorite son is dead. Now he's really, really upset. So we leave that situation off to the side. Now we follow Joseph. Here's the fun part. Joseph is in slavery, but God is blessing him while he is a slave. So now he's working for a man by the name of Potiphar. Now Potiphar is the leader of the Pharaoh's guard. You know, like these are the guys that guard Pharaoh. They're going to protect the king of Egypt. And everything seems so that Potiphar elevates him, makes him the head of the whole house. Everybody reported to Joseph. Everything was all great. Joseph was maybe trying to forget everything that bad had happened to him. Well, bad thing number 3 is going to happen. Potiphar's wife wants to have a relationship with Joseph. And he's going, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that against God. I can't do that against my master. No. Every time she'd show up, he'd run away. One time he was in the house, nobody else was in the house except her. She comes after him. She comes up to him. She wants to grab onto him. Joseph is running away. He runs away from her. She grabs his coat, pulls it off of his shoulders. Meanwhile, Potiphar comes back and she says, hey, that slave that you gave me, here's his coat. He attacked me. So she's blaming him. So Potiphar has to send him to jail. Now Joseph is in jail. Joseph's in jail, but while he's in jail, just like he was with Potiphar, now with the jailer, everything seems to be working. The jailer makes Joseph the head of the jail. Well, 2 men come to the jail. One was the cupbearer for Pharaoh, for the king. The other one was the baker. So they're in jail. Joseph is trying to make it as comfortable as possible for them. And then they have a dream. The cupbearer has a dream and the baker has a dream. They're troubled by the dream, and Joseph figures out that they had a bad dream, and so Joseph says, well, what was the dream? The cupbearer tells him that he once again will be handing the cup back to Pharaoh, and Joseph says, in a certain amount of time, you'll be going back to your job as cupbearer. The baker hears that story, says, oh good, this has got to be a good one. And then the baker tells a story about how all the baked goods that the Pharaoh loves, and all the birds are eating it, and then everything's gone. And Joseph doesn't want to tell the baker this story because this is a bad story. He says, sorry, but you're not gonna. I'll just tell you, you're not gonna live. It's not a good story. The Pharaoh's going to come by and you're going to be executed. Sure enough, exactly happened. Joseph then asked the cupbearer, hey, tell Pharaoh I'm in this jail. Cupbearer goes back to his job. Pharaoh now has a dream. He has a dream where he's got 7 cows that are all just sleek, plump, very well-fed cows. Everything's great with the cows. And then after a little while, then there are 7 very thin, very emaciated, they're about to die looking cows. And in the dream, Pharaoh has the about to die looking cows eat the cows that are great looking, and they never change. They still look like they're about ready to die. And Pharaoh couldn't figure it out. All of his advisors couldn't figure it out. Then the cupbearer remembers. There's a man in the jail. He interpreted my dream, and I came back to work for you, and I forgot to tell you. So now I'm telling you. Joseph interprets the dream. Says there's going to be 7 years of so much food and so much growth of food where you're going to have to store it. And then there's going to be 7 years where there's going to be so much drought, nothing will grow. and everything that you stored and everything that you saved is all going to get eaten up. So Pharaoh's going, who can I put in charge of this? Who can I put in charge of this whole event who can manage it for me and everything else? And he knows exactly who he's going to put in charge. He's going to put Joseph in charge. So now everything is working according to Pharaoh's dreams. Joseph is doing what he's supposed to be doing. In the meantime, way back home, we got Joseph and his brothers and their families. And now the famine, the drought has hit where they are. And now they've got no food. They've got no food to feed their flocks. They've got no food for themselves. And then one of the sons goes, well, I heard that there is food that's in Egypt. Dad says, okay, I'm going to have all you guys, take some bags, take anything you can carry, go down to Egypt. Here's some money. Here's some money that I've saved up. You go down and you go buy us some grain and bring it back. So the brothers without Benjamin wasn't with them the first trip. They all go and they go to Egypt, and they're like standing in line waiting to receive from what they have. And then Joseph, guess what? Joseph sees them. Joseph is like the prime minister of the country. The only person higher than him is the king, is Pharaoh. So he's in charge of everything. And he sees his brothers. Now, did his brothers recognize him?
No.
They did not. Why do you think they did not recognize him? Any ideas? Any thoughts?
Because they didn't think he would be in that spot.
They didn't think he was going to be in that spot. Exactly. That's one. There was another one, too. Jewish men in that time all had full beards. Egyptians at that time did not. So they wouldn't have recognized him by means of his face, because he would have had, as a Jewish person, he should have had a beard, but he didn't. So they never recognized him. So when it came their turn, guess what they did? What did they do before they asked him, hey, we're looking to buy food?
They bowed.
They bowed. So now Joseph is all aware of this. He is seeing this actually take place. They are bowing before Joseph. They didn't know it was Joseph, and they're bowing before him. So there's a lot of conversation that ensues. They get their food. Joseph has the servants put their money back in their bags. They get about halfway to stop and eat lunch. Meanwhile, now Joseph sends the Egyptian army after him, arrests one of their brothers, takes him back to Egypt, and said, you guys will not get him back until you bring your younger brother with you. They told Joseph about Benjamin. Oh, great. Dad's never going to let him go. After Joseph was killed, Dad would never let Benjamin out of his sight. He's never going to let Benjamin go. So they go back home. They tell Dad everything, what happened. And he says, no, Benjamin is not going. He is not going. And they're trying to discuss this make Dad change his mind. Dad says, no, he's not going. Well, they started to run out of food again. Jacob says, go back to Egypt, go get some more food. And by the way, take the money that you took. And they probably thought you stole the stuff, so take the money you took before. Here's some more money to buy food. Dad, we got to take Benjamin with us. We got to get Levi out of prison. No, you're not. Dad, look. And then Judah says, Dad, look. I will protect Joseph. I will protect Benjamin. I will keep him safe. If anything is going to happen to Benjamin, it's going to happen to me. So Judah's argument won. They went back. And without getting too long a foot in the story, because we're getting close, they go back. They have this wonderful, wonderful meal, and then they all start to leave, and they open up the bags when they're going to meet for lunch, and they're not only the original money that they sent from the first wave, now the money that they sent for the second wave was still all back in the bag. And then here comes the Egyptian army again. They're after them. They're saying, one of y'all took from our master his favorite cup, his favorite mug. One of you got it in your bag. And they're all going, we didn't take it, we didn't take it. Oh, here, take a look, they're not there. And sure enough, in Benjamin's bag was the cup. They're about to arrest Benjamin. And now every single one says, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't arrest him. He's going to kill our father. Then they all go back. And after all of that, the brothers come to a realization, look, all of this is happening to us because we lied to our father. We told our father that our brother is dead. And we did all this mean stuff to him. We're really, really sorry about that. And then that's when Joseph breaks down. He starts crying. And he says, guys, I'm him. I'm Joseph. And they're all looking at each other going, no, that can't be him. No, I am your brother Joseph. And he starts sharing stories that only they would know. Oh my goodness, it is Joseph. And Joseph says, God put me here in order to be a blessing for y'all, in order to keep the family line alive. Is Dad alive? Is everybody okay? Yeah, Dad's fine. Well, go get him and bring him back. So they brought the whole rest of the family back, wives, children, grandchildren, everybody. Everybody came to Egypt, and that's where they settled. And that's where they began to become the nation of Israel. And what's the one descendant, we talked about this last week, what's the one descendant out of that whole nation that is still important to us? He was the great grandson of Jacob. Birthday we celebrate in December. Jesus. All of this preservation of the family line is to lead us to Jesus, who helps and saves not only their family line, but ours, all of us. So that's all connected to that. So it's the line of the promise. It's as a salvation storyline. God created a perfect world. Adam and Eve disobeyed, brought sin and death into the world. God made the promise to Abraham and Sarah to bless the world through them. And then the blessed promise continued through Jacob, even though he didn't deserve it, which is true. And was it right for Jacob to hold on to until he was blessed? Yeah, maybe yes, maybe no, but it worked out anyway. So let's move on because we're running out of time here. So what happened for ore to become precious metal that artists can work it if it's refined? I see where they're going with that one. Really, Siri, please. How is holding on to a rope, like tug of war? We've all played the game tug of war, right? Mm-hmm. Why is holding on to the rope like holding on to faith? Any ideas, any thoughts?
You don't want to let go.
You don't want to let go. So it's also like working together, and it's also like God holding on to us. Okay, we can go over all of these. So what's that word? Let's take a look at it today. Old Testament right of the firstborn. How the eldest son inherits the bulk of his father's possession and the position of leadership. Jacob schemed to get this from Esau by trading it for a bowl of stew when he came in from hunting. Opposite of birth wrong. Birthright. The birthright. So next word. In the Old Testament, a ceremonial gift passed on from the father to the first son. I'm sorry? Blessing. And the opposite of cursing is blessing. Very good, Jackson. Jacob's twin. Esau. Okay, that one was, his name means red. Which was Esau. Esau. But all the way, by the way, the people who were his descendants formed the nation was called Edom. Edom also means red. Okay. Isaac and Rebekah's second son, but Joseph, the new name given to Jacob by the angel says, I will not let you go unless you bless me. This name means he strives with God, or God strives. The name of the modern Jewish state in the Middle East. Israel. Exactly. Israel's favorite son?
Joseph.
Joseph. Well, we gave him a coat of many colors, but still sold in slavery. Joseph, exactly. Okay. So we've gone through a lot of this. Our theme verse again is Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he did not prevail, he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." The man said, "You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and prevailed." So there's basically some Bible fundamentals of the story of Jacob. You can take a look at those at your leisure at home, talking about all the different aspects of Jacob and his world, and how even though Jacob did all the really nasty stuff, God continued to bless, because it's the family. And I'm scrolling through these pretty quick because we got to go. But we talked about all the whole story. So famous moments in history: Jacob wrestles with the angel. Let me go. It's almost dawn, and the God is skedaddle. What? You got harp lessons or something? Golf date with Elijah. Okay. And you really just teed off if you're late. Let me go. Ha! Elijah hasn't been born yet. Look. Okay, etc., etc. I won't let you go until you bless me. And the last one is, so, how did the wrestling match with Jacob go? I have a feeling we've been wrestling with Israel a very, very long while. Speaking of Israel, the nation of, currently, today's date, there's a lot of struggles going on right now. So just pray for sanity, that we don't have a whole lot of warfare going on. Okay. All right, why don't we wrap up with a word of prayer, please. Father in heaven, thank you for all the blessings you gave and you showed, not only to Jacob and to Isaac and to Abraham, but also to all those who followed after him, including us. Thank you for the blessings we have because of Jesus and the life we've got through him. Help us to live more fully in this wonderful blessing you give. And we ask you to be with us today as we go ahead for worship this morning. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. What's one thing you guys didn't know before we started? We'll go over this real quick.
Jacob was the favorite son.
Jacob was the favorite son. Everyone.
Joseph was the favorite son.
Joseph was the favorite son.
Jacob.
All right. Get out of here. Go home. No, not home. Worship.